In 6 days, we are going to win the great state of Florida. And we are going to win the White House. Going to win it. It's feeling like it already, isn't it? Just, we've got to be nice and cool, nice and cool. Right? Stay on point, Donald, stay on point. No sidetracks, Donald. Nice and easy, nice. Because I've been watching Hillary the last few days. She's totally unhinged. We don't want any of that. She has become unhinged.
This is America Talks Live Hour 2, where our most important program content comes from you. Your questions, comments, and observations via telephone at 1-877-639-7629. That's 1-877-Newsmax. We just saw Donald Trump exultant on the stump last night in Pensacola, Florida, even engaging in a bit of self-deprecation, even as he sees a new appreciation in terms of numbers in the polls. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. First, Ed Berliner has this news update.
Thanks, JD. FBI sources now indicate an indictment is likely in their pay-for-play investigation of the Clinton Foundation. According to Fox News, it will happen, barring obstruction from the Justice Department. FBI officials say laptops from 2 top Hillary Clinton aides haven't been destroyed, and agents will re-interview those tied to the investigation. The report indicates new evidence that will keep the now year-and-a-half-old investigation alive, and the Donald Trump camp is there to capitalize.
She will be under this cloud of scandal, and she will be, and I think it matters to people. People on Tuesday are going to say, I think I'll vote for the candidate who's not under 2 FBI investigations. There's only one choice that fits that bill.
All giving Trump added poll momentum. Hillary Clinton led Trump by 9 points in the previous New York Times CBS News survey. Now it shows her lead has shrunk to just 3. And the number of years where the Chicago Cubs haven't won the World Series has now shrunk to 0. 2 runs in the 10th, thanks in part to a double from series MVP Ben Zobrist, ended more than 100 years of agony last night. Cubs beat Cleveland 8-7 to finally put the Billy Goat out to pasture. What a series. For all the latest, click your way to Newsmax.com. JD, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, Ed. So the Cubs win the World Championship for the first time since 1908. Somehow it figures that Donald Trump might be in line to win the White House here in 2016. For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by a friend who is out not too far from where the Cubs have spring training in Arizona. She's the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Politistick.com, our friend Jennifer Burke. Also joining us via Skype from New York City. New York City, that's the place. It's our good friend, the columnist for the Fiscal Times, Liz Peek. Now, the big news, ladies, for Trump is he is leading in states that previously looked like they were heading for Hillary. For example, not too far from you, Ms. Burke, out in Nevada, the CNN ORC poll has Trump leading there by 6 points. In New Hampshire, the WMUR poll has Trump up by a single point. In Colorado, the new University of Denver poll has Clinton and Trump tied at 39. And from Hampton University in Virginia, what a dramatic swing. Where Hillary had been ahead in double digits, now Donald Trump has a 3-point lead. And when you take a look at what's going on according to Quinnipiac's polling, Mr. Trump continues to have the momentum on his side in the key swing states of Ohio and Florida. Ohio, he enjoys a 5 percentage point lead despite the curious conduct of John Kasich, who wrote in John McCain on his early ballot. In Florida, they say Hillary's up by 1, but we've seen other polling that has Donald Trump consistently ahead. Jennifer Burke, first to you. What do you expect in 5 days' time based on these numbers we're seeing now?
Well, you know, I think the Hillary campaign is running scared. That's why they basically are begging people to vote early. You hear that when they're at the rallies, because the more information that comes out about the corruption, and those of us that are been paying attention know about the shroud of corruption that's followed the Clintons for decades, but it's now having a bright spotlight shined on it. And it's not weighing favorably upon them, which is why they want people to go out and vote early, because the more you know, the more you don't like her, And the more desperate she becomes, which is why now the person who was supposedly going to run the campaign on ideas and policy, you listen to her speeches and it's all bashing Trump, because that's what she feels she needs to do.
Well, Liz Peek, let me turn to you. It does seem that the Hillary campaign has become scorched earth and women wronged. I mean, the irony of what we have heard from her attacking Donald Trump for conduct her husband engaged in 2 decades ago while he was in the Oval Office, more than just a bit ironic, is it not?
Oh, it's totally ironic. But look, she has nothing else, because the big issues of the day, whether it's Obamacare or immigration or Syrian refugees, Hillary's on the wrong side of those in terms of the way voters want them to turn out. They really like what Donald Trump has to say. They're not very keen about Hillary Clinton's platform. But I think, going back to what Jennifer was saying, it's really quite fascinating. Right now, for the first time in a month or two, Hillary's campaign is running ads in Colorado. They had taken that state for granted. They pulled their advertising there. She's in Michigan, which really is a sort of shocker, because she was up about 6 or 7 points in Michigan. That was really not considered even in play just recently. And now she's going back there to kind of bolster her standing. So I think, you know, we don't know. I mean, there's certainly, the polls are going back and forth, and the state polls tend to lag national, but it does seem like the momentum shifted. And by the way, it wasn't Comey that caused the shift. It happened 3 or 4 days before Comey made his announcement on Friday, and it had to do with Obamacare bad news, rates going up dramatically, and also all the WikiLeaks stuff about the foundation. There's more here than the FBI investigation into her emails.
A lot more. Our friend Dick Morris wrote about that fact as well, Liz. Other people are talking about exactly what's going on. For example, veteran pollster Pat Caddell, who you will recall handled polling for Jimmy Carter. He appeared on Sirius XM radio on Breitbart News Daily yesterday, saying the Clinton campaign is in a panic mode. Here's the way Pat put it.
There is a smell of desperation, a look of desperation about trying to prop her up. And that they look panicked. The Clinton people are spending money now back in states they had stopped spending in.
And noting what Liz said right there was Pat Caddell with his own observation on that. Jennifer Burke, Arizona was emerging as a battleground state. What is the sense you get? Is the Copper State, the Grand Canyon State, now in the Trump column, or will this be a close thing?
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, JD, because as I was listening to Liz, I thought about how the Clinton campaign have been hitting Arizona hard. They've had Bernie Sanders campaigning in multiple cities. They've had Michelle Obama come out. They had Chelsea Clinton go to ASU. Hillary Clinton was at ASU last night. And prior to all these big name people coming, trying to bolster her in the state, they were neck and neck, only 1 point difference between them. But even after those high profile speakers have come to try to push the Clinton campaign in Arizona, since then, now Trump has opened a 4 to 5 point lead in the state. So it's like the more they're talking, it's not really having any kind of positive effect because, as Liz said, about WikiLeaks, about Obamacare, and about Hillary's stance, you know, her private versus public. We've determined from all that we found out in regards to WikiLeaks that is actually true. It had nothing to do with Abraham Lincoln.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think happens today in Arizona, because I understand Tim Kaine is coming to Phoenix, and It is a complete pander fest, or should we say pander fiesta, because he gives a speech totally in Spanish, the same way he did his pro-amnesty speech for that god-awful Gang of 8 amnesty bill in the Senate. Complete capitulation. And I got to tell you, for Arizonans, the Arizona Repugnant newspaper can write all of its open borders tripe, but when the evil elf gets up and starts hobbling Espanol today, that's going to finish off the Clinton campaign in Arizona from my perspective. Now,
right, I think it'll backfire as well. I think it's a terrible, terrible idea for them to do that.
Liz, want to show you something going on in another state with spring training, albeit the fall, and we're concentrating on politics. Our parent website, Newsmax.com, reports the Florida GOP plans to file a lawsuit today, I believe because of alleged voter fraud in Broward County. The claim is that people there in Broward County are opening mailed-in election ballots, thousands of them, before they're officially verified, a process known as canvassing. Now look, Florida's done a good job when you show up physically to vote, but this whole mail thing is a scam, and it is rife for fraud. Do you think the lawsuit by the Florida GOP is the right thing to do at this juncture?
I don't see how it hurts the Trump campaign, because after all, he's been alleging that there are instances of voter fraud out there. And of course, the Democrats always say, no, that never happens. And we know there are several investigations going into voter fraud. Look, this election is going to come down to one simple variable, and that is turnout. And when Pat Caddell talks about Hillary Clinton being desperate, he's completely right. They know the turnout is lagging, particularly amongst African Americans. Even the New York Times had to review that. When her enthusiasm levels drop below Trump's, that was a very bad sign for Hillary Clinton. And that's where they are today. For Trump, the enthusiasm level's gone up. He's appealing to a higher percentage of Republicans now. They're coming home, as it were. And to the extent that he has sort of said, look, it's us against everybody else, the media and voter, officials in various Democrat-controlled counties and states and so forth, that really gets people pretty ginned up. I mean, it gets me ginned up. I really can't stand the level of corruption we're seeing.
And it is worth noting because it was an intense Republican primary season with a lot of folks just not enamored with Donald Trump, but what's going on with Hillary makes a difference. Jen, last word on this part. We're going to bring you back for more, but your take on what we're going to see in 5 days' time, about 30 seconds.
5 days' time, I think we're going to see Hillary ramping up the commercials. I mean, I've seen probably 20 commercials about Hillary Clinton in the hour I was watching the local news this morning. And we're going to see them just continue to try to attack Donald Trump's character. But I tell you, JD, that's turning people off, because I have a friend who never speaks about politics until she heard Hillary Clinton, what she said about Trump. And she was around during the Bill Clinton years of the Hillary Clinton aiding and cover-up. Yep. And so I think that attack is going to backfire as well.
Well, we will find out, and we'll also hear from you at home at 1-877-NEWSMAX. As we continue here, Jennifer Burke and Liz Peek stay with us. You do too. We're coming back with your calls.